title of my talk today is Live by Design. We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. This is a quote by Sir Winston Churchill. This quote is one of the many quotes that inspired me to become an architect. Architecture has a way to capture the essence and the reason for transformation. It has always been used to reflect transformation in society. It has always shaped the way we interact in our social spaces, how we choose to, raise our families, where we choose to live, how we choose to express ourselves through our designs or through our space. Whether it be at school, where the purpose of the design is aimed at helping children grow into who they should be in a space that is non-threatening, but also allows them to freely express themselves so that they can organically evolve and begin to transition who they truly should be. Transformation process. Now, the reason for this talk again is to try to make a connection between how architecture influences us and how the process of creating architectural designs can also be applied to our personal lives to achieve transformation. So the processes you have to go through when creating a plan is reflection, and then look for inspiration, and also to generate concepts. If you look at this sketch over here, this rubbish, if you will, if I told you that this represents 3 blocks of 10-story buildings, each of which have a combination of 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments on each floor, starting from the 2nd floor through to the 10th floor, with about 180 square meters of rentable real estate space on the 1st floor, underground parking, parking for visitors on the site, a market, and also a clinic for residences. But of course, if you look at that sketch, it doesn't look like that, does it? Well, that is because a dream, until it is actualized, only makes sense to the dreamer. When I made the decision to make this talk, I had a conversation with Anthony Levinzu. And in the process of having that conversation, he mentioned this to me, and that's talk. When you first have an inspiration to design, first thing you need to do is begin to conceptualize the ideas. At the first, when you first begin the process, it makes vaguely enough sense, but of course it makes sense to the person who is creating the design. Likewise, setting goals and aspirations for ourselves. The transformation process cannot start or cannot be fully understood without first having the thought of it in our heads. When I sit back to start preparing a design, I'm often motivated by this quote here by Wallace T. Wattles. It says, "There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which in its original state permeates, penetrates, and fills the interspaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imaged by the thought." So again, through the design process for achieving transformation for perhaps a building or our personal lives, the initial ideas might not be clear enough. They may come up as doodles, strange things in your head, but you have an idea of where you're tending to. The picture of it might not be fully complete, but that is where the work truly starts, when you begin to plan it out, and then you hold the idea that you have in your mind in the realm of the 4th dimension, and see yourself, allow yourself to provide enough details to that dream. Visualize yourself putting in every single details to make sure or to help you further develop this dream so that you can have a clear relationship and stronger understanding of it. This quote by Ms. Van der Rohe, who happens to be my all-time favorite architect, living or dead, is perfect. God is in the details. Simply put, whenever you have your plans, whenever you have your ideas, they might be a little fuzzy and sketchy, but if you stay with it, if you stay with the process, if you understand all it takes to create the plan, you can now hold that in your mind and begin to provide the details needed for the plan to come into fruition. My process when it comes to architectural design is to first obtain the design brief, obviously, but also get to meet with the client in an informal space where in the process of our conversation, they are relaxed, we are all relaxed. I'm trying to sort of understand who they are, understand their aura, understand what they live for, what makes them tick, and then try to capture this essence in design, and then replicate it by capturing the emotions of it, emphasizing on the essence of the design to create a form that is easily relatable to both the clients and intended users. The more you continue to visualize the goals, the more you continue to spend time holding that vision in your mind, the more you begin to see the flaws you may have had in the beginning, but also begin to see where you can add, like the last speaker said, strive to achieve perfection. In the process of doing that, of course, you arrive at something good, excellence. The concept of the plan continues to develop and make sense to you. Implementation. Implementation is the final state of, to me, my transformational process for creating a plan, understanding the essence of the design, and then formally coming up with a presentation that everyone can relate to. A presentation that shows in clear details now what had been buried deep inside the design and the thought process. Now, when we look at this process of creativity, it's always important to remember one thing. There is no rush in creativity. There is no need to rush in pursuit of transformational excellence or perfection. No rush. The key thing is to be able to have the ideas vividly clear to yourself, to your mind, so that it inspires you to actually act. Now, these are the conceptualization process I went to, and I ran down very quickly. First, self-reflect. Something similar to what architects do. Get the plans, get the brief, then you continue in the process of conducting your research, understanding the details of the design, gathering all the necessary information, trying to make sense of something that may have seemed abstract in the beginning stages. In the process of doing that, it is always important to remember the need to carry out inspired action, because once your actions are inspired, you would never tire out. Your resiliency is built, and you keep pursuing what you need to achieve. That finding of the inspiration helps you to conceptualize clearly, develop clear plans on how to achieve your vision, and then implementation comes through. I kind of try to draw parallels with this and the iceberg scenario. As you can see on this slide, implementation actually accounts for about 10% of the work process needed to carry out 100% transformation, either personal or business, or whatever form you choose to want to pursue your transformation in. The other stuff, self-reflection, finding inspiration, conceptualization, plan and visualize, these are all the internal stuff that no one sees. The thing that builds you up. The goal you achieve is the final stage that reflects 10% of all that good stuff you've put inside of you to achieve your goals. Finally, I would like to leave us with this one last quote. Your thoughts are the architects of your destiny. Protect your thoughts. Every single form of transformation begins with one clear thought. It exists here in your minds first. And then everything else is the acting out process, the implementation. The more you spend time developing your goals clearly, protecting your thoughts from things you shouldn't be thinking about, but staying focused on what you need to achieve, the clearer your goals become, and then the easier the journey to self-transformation is. Thank you.